About 24 minutes or so. So you have about 20 minutes, you'll probably knock out 2 of them. Just let me know if I can help. Alright. This week is chapter 4. Same thing, 2 greater assignments in the training that's due. Today we're going to go through the chapter 1 greater for chapter 4. Chapter 4 greater, assignment number 1. So go ahead and start that in the to-do list. So here's the worksheet that you start with, and always keep my instructions minimized at the bottom so they're easy to see. So go ahead and open up those files like that and we'll get started. This particular chapter we talk about some more formulas, and we introduce the if statement as a form of a function. I'll show you how that works when we get there. So of course the first step tells you to download this assignment and open it, so we've already done that. And then the first step says, I'm going to zoom in so you can see. First step says on the price worksheet, from this chapter and further chapters, we're going to start having more sheets. So if we notice, there's 2 sheets down here, one's price, one's inventory. So make sure when you read the instructions, make sure you understand which sheet you're on, because that'll confuse you as we go forward if you don't watch out for that. So first thing it says on the price worksheet, which is our current sheet. The way you can tell that it's the current sheet, of course, is the tab is highlighted as white, or it looks like it's pushed out. So we're on price sheet that says in the merge cell A2, insert the wow function. So if we, the now function rather. So if we click A2, it says it's merged because when we click on it, of course, it looks like we've highlighted all the way across to row G. But those have just been merged together into one cell. So insert the now function. Several ways to do it. It's best just to you can type it. If you press the equal sign, the now is actually going to pull the current date and time. So you press equal and then just type the word now. N-O-W. It doesn't take any arguments, meaning you open and close the parentheses. You don't put anything in it. Open and close. So that's holding the shift key, press in 9 and then 8. And if you press enter there, it'll show you today's date and the current time. That's all there is to that. Then it says in the cell F3, use the count function to select and the selected argument range. So if we click in F3, we want to insert the count function. So if we press equal, we just type the word count. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna count to see if there's any data in the given range. It's not gonna count numbers, it's not gonna add any of the numbers together. It's just gonna see if anything exists, if a word exists in there, or if a number exists in there, it's gonna count it as one. Yes. You need to do the open and close. No, don't wrap it in parentheses. So it should say equal now, and then open parentheses, and then close it. So it's just an inclusion. Take that parentheses off. We have to have an equal sign. There you go, and then take it, put that same parentheses to the right of the W. Go to the other side of that. And now open, there you go, just like that, and enter. That's it. Well, we haven't finished that one. So yes, you have to open the parentheses, and that's where we're gonna do. Yep, so count, then you open up the parentheses. As soon as you open up the parentheses, if you read your tooltip, it's going to tell you how to use this function. It says count, opens a parentheses, says value 1 with a comma, value 2, and so on. Or you can put a range in there, just like we did with the sum function. And so that's what it's asking you here, is to put this range F5 through F50. So if we look, it's F5 through F50, and instead of adding these together, it's just going to tell us if data exists. So count function, type F5 colon, F50, then close the parentheses. Then if you press equal there, you should get the number 45. So it's going to count only those cells in that range that have some kind of data. On the price worksheet, we're going to apply the thick bottom border style to the range A5 through G5. So highlight range A5 through G5. And if we look on the Home tab, inside the font group, there's these little boxes right here. These represent the borders. If you push the down arrow there, then you can choose thick bottom border, which is right. Thick bottom border is right there. We'll need to turn the lights on. Can you see? Okay, just go ahead and click there. Doesn't really look like you did anything. If you watched really closely, you could have seen it looks kind of like the cells drop down, but if you click away from it, you'll see that you have an actual line underneath our column names. Okay, scroll to the next. All right. Next one is our if statement. This one deals with logic. This is one that is tricky to understand at first. So I'm going to describe it to you here. If you click in F6, it says insert the if function. The easiest way to start these functions as we go forward is to press the little function button that's up here. If you look up next to the formula bar, there's this button right here that has the F and the little x. Just click on it, two ways you can search this. You can either type if right there where it says type a brief description. If you type if and then just press go, it'll find that statement. It's also in the logic category if you look down. It's one that says logical. The if statement's right there as well. Okay, so click on the one that says if and click OK. And it brings up what's called the arguments box. Now we see this screen here. If it's bold, it's something that has to be, you have to fill out that box in order for the function to work. So you have, the first one is the logic test, which is in bold, and that's mandatory. And then the other two are optional. But most of the time, when you're using the if statement, you're going to want to fill in both of these blocks. In all of the activities we have here, you will fill in all three blocks. So what's the logical test? A logic test is anything that can be compared and the answer is either true or false. So you have to create some type of statement there that the answer can only be true or false. So what do we have in this case? Enter the function to display the remove if the value in E6 is greater than 500. So our logic test is whatever value is in F6, is it greater than 500? It should return a true or false value. So we type in F6. Then we say, is F6 greater than, we add our greater than sign, and we put 500. So notice over here, it's going to try to figure that out for you. Here it actually gives you false for that particular case. So we're saying is the value greater than 500. And then the next two blocks are the two answers. Again, this logical statement, it can only be true or false. So in these statements, you want something to happen when one or the other is true. When one's true, one's false. So in this case, if the value is true, what are we going to display in the cell? Good. It's going to say the remove if it's greater than 500, which would mean if it is, that means it's true. So we're going to just type remove. In these activities, make sure capitalization, punctuation is a key. So it's a capital R. Okay. And then what happens when it's false? It's going to return the word keep. So just type keep in there. Any questions on that? Usually the hardest part is figuring out what your logic test is. So we press OK there. Of course it says keep. If we want to double check it, look in F6. Is it greater than 500? No. And then fill the function down so you can double click there. Notice as you scroll through, some of them have remove, some of them have keep. And ones that say remove, notice it is greater. This is greater than 500, so it works. Okay. Going to use the find and replace function in this next step. Find all the currents of west side and replace it with west side with no space and no capital S. If we look in the home tab inside the editing group, there's one that says find and select. If you push the down arrow there, then you see the button that says find, or it says replace rather. So you want to click on that. Then you have two boxes there. find what value and replace with what. So we're finding the west side and we're gonna replace it with, so we say west side. And we'll replace it with a capital W, west side. And it says replace all occurrences, so we just simply click replace all. And it pops up, tells you how many were replaced. I got 13. Close it for a second. Oh, click, oh, okay. Click away on one of the cells over here, not trying. Did yours? Someone else said it came up? Close that one. Probably more question mark. Would you close and replace? You close it? Yep, okay. If for some reason it doesn't say it found, save, close, reopen. Okay, good. Also, this happens in several classes. When you're working in these activities, click here and look at the cursor. Sometimes if you press the space after, it thinks it's something else. So if you were to come up here and typed west side and then added a space afterwards, it's not gonna recognize it in your document because there isn't a word west side with a space after it. It's a habit to press space bar after you type a word. But if you were to do that in this case, and in just about all the simulators, it'll mark it wrong. Okay, good. So we can close that. Take a look and make sure it worked. If you look in E12, you should have west side as well as E13. West side should look all together like that. save your work there. Ooh. Go ahead and save. All right, move into number 7. On the price worksheet, apply the solid blue data bar conditional formatting to the range F6 through F50. So if we highlight F6 through F50, there's several ways to do it. Once you highlight it, you get the formatting bar there. The quick analysis button is what it's called. And it says blue data bars. You can go right here. If you don't happen to see this, then if you just scroll up to the top, in the styles group on the home tab, under conditional formatting, you see data bars. What does it say? Blue data bars, conditional formatting to the range. So we're doing the blue. There's two that look very similar, so hold the mouse over to see which one it wants. There's blue. That one's actually light blue, so we want blue data bar, which will be that one. Once we click there, it gives us a type of graph within our column. The next step is talking about freezing the panes of the worksheet. So when you scroll down, the headings of rows 1 through 5 remain visible. If we look at our cursor, or if we click into a cell, once the cell is highlighted, if we were to go and freeze the panes right now, everything to the left of this will freeze, and everything above this will freeze. So it's going to freeze this entire left corner. So in order to freeze rows 1 through 5, we need to go over and click A6. So we click A6, that means there isn't anything to the left to freeze, so it's only going to freeze above row 6. So if we go there and we go to go to the View tab, and then in the Windows section, there's something that says Freeze Panes. You can just click Freeze Panes right there. And it even gives you, if you look at that little icon, it shows you a selected cell. It's in blue, and it shows you what will be frozen, in case you forget there. I'll go ahead and click there, and it'll freeze rows 1 through 5. Next, we're going to create a copy of the price worksheet and create a new sheet with it. Rename it to appliances. So just hold the mouse over the price sheet and right click. And click where it says move or copy. And price sheet is automatically highlighted. Make sure you check the box that says create a copy. Press OK. It pops up as price with 2 in parentheses. Just double click on that and type appliances. And then press enter to accept that name. The name then becomes green. Then because we copied it, we have rows 1 through 5 frozen. As we slide, we can see that they're frozen. So we just want to unfreeze the pane. Make sure you're on the Applications tab and back into the View tab where it says Freeze Panes. If you press the down arrow, it now says Unfreeze Panes. Just click that and then they're no longer frozen. All right, so now we're going to work in the Appliances tab. Tell me to move it. It says to make appliances at the end of the workbook. If it showed up here, could have selected the option and made it. If it's here, you can move it. If you just click the mouse and hold, then you get the little piece of paper stuck to your mouse. Drag it over till the caret, that little arrow shows just to the right of inventory. So we want it right there, very end. Okay, and then it says format range A5 through G50 as a table with headers. This sounds a lot harder than it is. It says using table style like 1, so if we highlight A5 through G50, which is all of our data there, we go back to the Home tab. Inside the Styles group, it says Format as a Table. Press the down arrow there. And notice it's broken into groups. We have light here, medium, and then dark. So we want to choose light style 1. So if we hold over the first light, it's the first row, first column, light style 1. Gives you the tooltip, you just click there, converts it as a table. This step, it says, where's your table? It's assuming what we selected is what we want. Of course, that's what we want as our table. And here it says with headers, so we make sure that my table has headers. Headers means that we have column names, is what that's asking. So we say yes, and press OK. And notice, if we click somewhere in the table, we get odd color lines, and then we have these drop-down arrows in our headings up there, or our column names. So next section we'll use that. So we're working on appliances sheet inside of our table. And it says, on the appliance sheet, it says filter the data in the department column so that only records containing appliances are displayed. Those little arrows that came are called filter arrows. They're going to filter the data based on a criteria. So it says the department column. So we move over here to the department column. If we press that arrow that's in the department column, it'll give you the sort options. We can sort A to Z, or we can just select certain items that happen to be in that column. So on this one it says filter the data so that only the records containing appliances are displayed. So if we go down here, notice we have select all are selected. If we uncheck that one, just uncheck the select all, and only check appliances, then it'll filter our data based on what we've checked here. Click OK. And then it looks like our data is missing, but it's just filtered. So if we look in the department column, look next to the name, you see that little, looks like a golf tee or something? It's a filter. That means that row is filtered. So if you look at the table here, your data's not gone, it's just hidden. Okay. So same thing, now we're gonna take that and just sort one of the columns, make it easier to read. So in the, it says in the price column, sort the price column smallest to largest. So press down here. Again, if you press the arrow, then it's easy to see where we're gonna use. It says smallest to largest, largest to smallest. Click it there. Then notice we have a different kind of icon next to our arrow. That means that it's filtered. Going smallest to largest, and then this one is filtered by appliances. So you can add more than one filter to a table to organize the data for you. Now we're working with tables, we can actually add a total row. There's different, we work with it a little bit different than we do if this was just a sheet of data. Now that it's converted to a table, it has special features. So if you click out here, you don't get those features. You have to click somewhere in the table, it doesn't matter where. So click somewhere in the table, and notice at the very top you get what's called table tools, because this is now an object inside Excel. So anytime you click on an object, you get special tools in the ribbon for that object. So we have table tools, and in that design tab, if we look, there's inside the table style options, there's something called a total row. So it'll make this total row automatically for you. Go ahead and click on that, and it's going to drop down. And of course, the default setting for a total is to total the very last column. Of course, we have text in here, so it's actually just counting what exists there. And you can change what displays down here in the total row. And this one says sum column F. So if we click F, notice once we click, we get a down arrow here. Press that little arrow and you get options. And we can actually put functions directly into this total row. Of course, what's it asking for? I want you to display the sum. So you just simply click sum there, and it will create that formula for you and give you a total of that particular column. Any questions on that? Remember, if it's converted to a table, that's how you're going to add your totals, or sum up the. All right, another feature available is what's called spark lines. It's a way to display the data in a form of a line graph right inside the row. Yes. If you have counts on the business truncated, so your column is just a little bit wider. Just widen up your column a little bit less. Probably resolution. Good. So notice now we're moving to the inventory worksheet. So 14, we slide over to the inventory. So click over inventory sheet. Go ahead and save your work there. Just click save. Okay. So on the inventory worksheet, in the range G4 through G10 says insert a line, spark line for each row, and show the high points. So we select G4 through G10, go to insert, and in the insert tab there's a section that says spark lines, and there's one that says line. So if we click there, then we get the this box pops up, creating our, and of course we have the range in there because we've already highlighted that. It's just asking you, where do you want the data to show the spark lines? So we're gonna highlight, what does it say? It says on each row. So that means it wants all of the data inside that, on those rows. So we're gonna just collapse the box and highlight range B4 through F10. Okay, so we have the data range for our spark lines, and then it's asking where do you want the spark lines to be or show. So that's the two we selected. If we press OK, then you should get the spark lines right there on each row. Then of course, because that created an object in Excel, notice what happened to our bar at the top. We have special sparkline tools. If we look in there, there's an actual show group, and there's one that says show the high points. So if we click there, then we get to highlight the large pieces of data in our spark lines, or the high points. It says group the worksheets. Since it doesn't specify which ones, we're going to group them all. So if you just right click on one of the sheets, you can do select all sheets, then look up at the very top next to the word Excel. In the brackets you have the word group. That's how you know that your worksheets are in fact grouped. It says scale. Adjust the scale option to one page, the width of one page, and change the orientation to landscape. So if we go to our page layout tab, then right there is the scale to fit group. We can change the width to one page. And then it says change orientation to landscape. We look over in the page setup group. Orientation is here. We simply click landscape. And neither one of those you can see here. You have to go to print to see. This says ungroup the worksheets. So if you right click on one of those tabs, you also have an ungroup option. You can ungroup that way, or simply click another tab. And just double check by looking up here that your worksheet is in fact ungrouped. Save there. And then number 16, we're going to prepare the worksheet for printing on the price worksheet. So make sure we click back to price. Did you have a question? Stretch it. So make sure to click back on the price worksheet. Oops. Price worksheet, and it says prepare the sheet for printing by repeating rows 5 on each page. So if we go back into our page layout group, there's a section inside the page setup group. There's a print tiles or print titles button. Click there. And inside the print titles, there's something that says rows to repeat at the top. So click the collapse button there. You click row 5. Make sure you click that row. And you should have $5:5. And you can expand the box. It should look like that. Just press OK. And make sure your worksheets are in this order. Got price, inventory, appliances, and save the workbook and submit. I'm going to save them to different names. that's your first grade. Any questions there? Okay. You can polish that one up or.